I'm Maggie Pashley and I work with clients face to face in Sligo town and in Drumore West in County Sligo. And I wanted to talk today about working to help people improve sports performance. Now, I'm not a sports woman myself. So I can't teach people better techniques in terms of how they need to physically train. But I think increasingly people know and recognize that the mindset of how you approach a game is just as important as all those hours of physical training. Both are essential, obviously, to be a champion. So let me just share with you some of my thoughts about improving your mindset. I think the first thing is to actually be aware of what you actually do to make yourself screw up the times that you screw up, what's actually happening in your body, whether you feel, how you experience tension, maybe even what you do to create that tension. And it can be rehearsing previous times when you didn't succeed. It can be feeling the pressure of what would happen if you in fact won, and then you might feel more pressurized to keep on winning. It might be thinking about what other people might think of you. It might even be the kind of person that you would have to become in those moments when you're competing, that you might have to become a person who is more aggressive, more forceful, more determined than you've normally allowed yourself to be, or that you deem as like socially acceptable to be. And it can be understanding that giving yourself permission to take on the mindset that's needed and required for you to excel at the game is a bit like playing a part in a play. It's not something that has to apply to the rest of your life. So if in order to be the champion of whatever sport you're playing, in that moment you have to be so single focused and apparently think more of yourself than anybody else, and be a little bit more aggressive, does not mean that you're going to become that in the rest of your life. It just means that you're willing to embrace whatever is needed to actually excel at that particular sport. And alternatively, you could actually be in a sport where it's important to be more aware of your teammates and what they're doing, and to be able to be a team player. So, really, it's about understanding what your particular game requires of you, and to have a way of gaining what additional qualities that you need to have in order to deliver and achieve what you need to achieve. So one thing that I really do like doing with people, alongside hypnotherapy, which is a very good way of using our mind to imagine ourselves excelling and winning, I also like using tapping, EFT, or TFT as well. I tend to probably use EFT more than TFT, because that was my first training. I used to be a EFT trainer, and so in many ways it comes more natural for me to use that. But essentially, it's tapping on meridian points on the face and the hands to clear the blockages to being ourselves. And I think when we do the tapping, we actually clear things that are all the rubbish that we've essentially been buying that's actually restricting us and holding us back from being as amazing as we could be. So, for example, I worked with a lovely young man this morning who wanted to be a a much to perform much better as a mountain biker when he was actually doing it on the day. So he was good at doing it when he wasn't in that, when it didn't count, or when it didn't count to actually win some prize, when he was just training uh, on his own or with friends. And so essentially, I got him to imagine what it was going to be like on the day, how he and for him to describe to me what happened in his body to make that day different to those times when he could really excel, what stopped him really delivering. And he described certain physical sensations such as his heart beating. So we used EFT to actually change that, and we just tapped on the FT points, which was just simply naming how he's feeling, even though I've got this heart beating going on. And we did actually use as an acceptance phrase, I'm still a great biker, or I'm still a champion biker. And then we tapped round these other points with a reminder phrase of acknowledging the his heart beating faster. And so we went heart beating faster, heart beating faster, heart beating faster, heart beating faster, heart beating faster. And then that brought down that anxiety, that heart beating faster, so it was a lower level. He did acknowledge that he did need some of that heart beating faster and that adrenaline to be able to deliver. And I totally got that. And then we looked at other things like, so for example, he was aware of other being aware of other people who he knew were really, really good players and how that might affect him. So we tapped on that. So that didn't affect him. And he had various insights. And I thought a very good insight was that, we looked at what the difference between him being able to really enjoy being a great rider, great sportsman. What was different in that performance to the performance on the day of a race? And what he was saying was that it actually was on the day of when he was just doing it for himself or to train, he was more aggressive, and that he needed to bring some of that to the race day, and to acknowledge that actually being in a way a champion biker, for the duration of that race he had to be selfish, and it wasn't necessarily something that he was probably brought up to be, and would probably be in other areas of his life. So all that insight was very, very useful and very interesting, and we ended up him giving himself permission to be to be in that mindset, to actually embrace that mindset, so he could deliver what he was capable of delivering, and actually inspire not only himself but other people and other younger people coming into the game. So, and and using the imagination then to imagine what it would be like to be a champion, imagine what it would be like um, to to be able to stand up on the podium and get that prize, and how good that would be. And it was also taking the physical uh, the physical attributes of the times in which he could excel, and anchoring those by getting him to focus on them, put his thumb and forefinger together, really connect with that feeling and bring that feeling into the experience of excelling on the day. And that is the sort of thing that can really help us bring out the best performance on the day. And I think what I like about this approach is it allows people to know what's required for them, what their goals are, because everybody is going to have different goals. For some people, it might just be the goal of being able to enjoy what they're doing more, to be able to see progress in their chosen activity, their chosen sport. And it's so it's using it to clear the blockages to your own version of enjoying a sport, enjoying a particular activity or game. I've also worked with people who I worked with one scuba diver, and he'd had some difficult experience once that had stuck with him, and even though he'd done it loads and loads of times, and there was just this one difficult experience, it had put him off, and he wanted to get back into really enjoying it again because it had given him so much pleasure. And so in that instance, we went back, we dissolved the feeling of anxiety that he had, and he was able then to reconnect with really enjoying the sport again, and wrote me an email and said, how much it had helped him and how he had being able to just completely feel at ease, and yet also be alert to any potential dangers or any potential things that he needed to be aware of in order to keep himself safe. So the inner game, if you like, the mindset that we bring to anything is really going to really completely affect our results. And so to find simple ways really of giving ourselves the best chance of enjoying our game or winning a match or whatever it is, can make all the difference. And so if there's an area that you want to improve, then you might want to do what I just demonstrated there, of like going through what it is that actually holds you back, whatever it is, what sensations you might have in the body, if there's any mental chatter going on saying that you're useless, that you always miss a goal, whatever it is, so that when I think and then do the tapping, so that that will actually dissolve the ways when where you've come to an absolute conclusion about that. So you get to a deeper truth, which is more along the lines of not necessarily so that was maybe a one-off, or there's room for improvement, or that you're just buying into somebody else's negativity. Whatever it is, it can help dissolve that negative energy. And without that, then you're freer to be able to build on your natural skills. Obviously, it means that if you want to be a good at a sport, then obviously you have to practice. You have to learn the particular physical techniques that help you excel. But there has been a lot of research that shows actually imagining ourselves doing something fires off similar neurons and similar physical responses in the body as if we're physically doing the game. So that that the mental side of preparing yourself for any activity is really combined, especially with physical training and excellent, is really going to make you into a winner. So, if you want to use these tips on your own, then have a go. If you feel you want some extra coaching, non-physical coaching, then get in touch, and you can go to my website, which is www.maggiepashley.com, or send me an email to maggiepashley@gmail.com, and I'd be delighted to work with you either face to face in Sligo or via Skype, wherever you are in the world.